Welcome everybody back into Nerd Sesh. As always, I'm Carson Breber, and alongside me is Logan Camden. And today we are joined by a very special guest. He is a founder of Enjoy Basketball, a host of the Numbers on the Board podcast, and in my opinion, the GOAT of NBA trivia. You may know him as the king of the fourth quarter. We've got Kenny Beecham with us today. We were already kind of glazing you before the show even started, Kenny, but this really is a great moment for us. Logan and I were saying we've both been watching your stuff for a long time and are just super excited to have you on the pod with us here today. How you doing?
Doing great, man. I can't take the GOAT of NBA trivia after seeing you guys work on some crazy, I feel like every time y'all pop up on my TikTok, I'm like, that is a new name, a name I've never heard before. So I may be one of the founding fathers of NBA trivia, but I'm definitely not the GOAT.
I think you're the GOAT, man. I'm telling you, you're the GOAT. What I have is a mental illness. It's not cool. It's not fun. It's just like a freak show. It's like a sideshow circus. But we are going to do some trivia today. Kenny and I aren't going to be competing against each other. We're going to be instead collaborating. Logan's come up with some very hard questions that will require both of our brain power, so that should be a ton of fun. But before we do that, we're just going to talk some ball. So Logan and I are currently going through the process of ranking our top 30 players in the NBA. We're knocking it out in chunks. We still have our top 10 to go, but since we're in the middle of that journey and we're having you on now, thought it'd be interesting for you to take a look at our numbers 30 through 11 rankings and say what you disagree with most. What surprises you most about those rankings?
Yeah, I mean, ranking is something that I don't normally do as far as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I like to do it in tiers personally. So when I looked at y'all rankings, the first thing that popped out to me is that I had to figure out, am I lower on Kristaps Porzingis than consensus?
No, we're higher.
You guys are just higher on him. Okay, because you guys have him. One of you guys, let me pull up which one. One of you guys have him in the top 20.
Logan did. And
Logan
I had
has
him
him
right
top
outside.
20, and you had him right outside. And I'm like, okay. I'm looking at the list and I think Chet Holmgren is just slightly lower on Carson's list. And I'm thinking who would I prefer? And ranking is always, I'm not good at rankings because there's so many questions for me. I'm one of those dudes that need to know every single variable if we're going to be ranking. Am I building around these people? Are they a part of a team? Is this my first pick? What are the other situations, the other players around them? So I just get too bogged down by all the exterior things to really do rankings well. But the first thing that stood out definitely was Porzingis.
I'm a Porzingis truther. So is Logan. Here's the thing, man. Logan's kind of co-opted some of my guys, and now he's even higher on them. Chet, my dude, I said he was the best prospect since Anthony Davis. Logan's like, yeah, I'm going to have him higher than you on the list. Evan Mobley, maybe my favorite NBA player. Logan's like, I got him one spot higher. KP is another one of those dudes, and the reason that we're both so high on him, basically, and we are a hive mind here, so we do have similar lists, but KP is top tier at several of the most valuable traits from a big man, in my opinion. He is the best pick and pop big in basketball. He is a top 2 post scorer in basketball. Only he and Jokic are up at that level. I mean, just the efficiency, the mismatch attacking, his size, improved physicality, the shot making. And then he's a top tier rim protector, one of the best in basketball there. So those are 3 traits that are going to bring me elite impact in any situation with any surrounding supporting cast. It's never going to step on the toes of anybody else. It's lean, it's super efficient, but nobody can really do anything with him, and he's super impactful on both sides of the ball. So that's why I am as high on him as I am, and I think Logan feels the same way, even though he doesn't have the craziest counting stats necessarily, and obviously availability, I think, is part of the reason that he kind of gets forgotten about a little bit, in my opinion, because he's just not always playing.
That was the last thing I was going to mention when you were talking about different criteria for ranking guys, and I feel like that was probably the most difficult when gauging health. We kind of presumed health for all these guys, and for a long time, I mean, Carson and I have kind of believed that KP is the second best player on the Celtics because of all the elite things he does at the center spot, and let me tell you, man, people were not happy with our Jaylen Brown rankings. They were not happy with our duos talk. That is definitely one of our more controversial ones. But I just think that KP does stuff that's most valuable at the center spot, and you just can't take what he does away. I mean, you think back to the finals last year. He'd come in and play 20 minutes a night, and he'd put the game away. I think KP's still a really special player.
Yeah, I think maybe I'm being unfair because I think that as good of a player he is, last year they still win whether he plays 1 second or every single game. And maybe it is the availability part that makes me maybe a little bit lower on him than you guys are. I mean, he's on pace to have his like third least amount of games of his career, which is saying something because he's always missing a bunch of games. Yeah. But you guys, that's a very interesting conversation, though, when you talk about the best pick and pop big. I don't really have – I mean, Karl-Anthony Towns comes to mind, but I think Porzingis, if we're talking about that specific skill, is better than Karl-Anthony Towns there. Rim protection, obviously, always going to be elite. So, I mean, you guys made compelling arguments. I think it's still maybe just a little bit too high for me, though.
I get it. The one thing that I would say about them winning without him for most of the playoffs last year, this is just one of the most talented teams we've ever seen. And like you look at their record and their net rating with any of the dudes off, like they're 20-3 without Jaylen Brown over the last couple years. They're even 10-2 without Tatum. They win 80% of their games without Drew Holiday. I do think this year, if they want to win it, going up against this field, they do need everybody. And they need KP to be a very good version of himself because the competition is that tough.
Yeah, it's like one of those
Celtics best player.
Blessings in the curse, right? So the blessing is that you have this amount of depth that you can, at least last year, go on a deep playoff run and win a championship without one of your best players. But also it hurts the conversation when you talk about these individual guys, and that's how like Tatum gets put into weird conversations where I remember one graphic that popped up on the timeline was like on and off numbers for the top players in basketball, and I think the Celtics had a better rating with him off the court. And it's like, how could that be if he's one of the top 5 players in basketball or whatever? So, I completely understand that. But I do agree that the crop that they would have to go through to make it happen again this year is significantly tougher. Yep. So you do need a Porzingis. I was happy to see him back on the floor a couple nights ago against the Brooklyn Nets. So yeah, they're gonna need everybody to contribute to the highest degree in order to do it, because there are some teams out there that scare me as far as their matchups with the Celtics this year.
Was there anything else that stood out to you? I'm trying to think about what might have gotten the people up in arms.
I feel like our next most controversial take was probably Zion Williamson being so high. We both had him at number 12, and I feel like that's another availability thing, but a lot of people took issue with Brunson. What do you think about Zion, Kenny?
Zion, I'm Team Zion. I always have been. I've never wavered. I mean, no matter what was going on off the court with Mariah Mills or, all of the weirdness, I've always been Team Zion. And, people discredit March basketball, and sometimes it's definitely warranted, right? Like I'm seeing people in Chicago put up numbers that they've never put up before, and now they're going to make $35 million to do it. But Zion's just one of those dudes. It's not out of character for him to have this type of performances. So I've been as high on Zion as anybody, and there's been times on our show where people had to like, Kenny, let's temper the expectations for him. But I've always been a believer, and I think part of that was like, when he was coming into the draft, I had seen so many Bulls Photoshops. So I was like, I have to have him in Chicago. Yeah. And obviously he didn't end up there, but I still became a fan. And I think he's playing his best ball of his entire career right now, offensively and defensively. Like the other night against the Minnesota Timberwolves, we saw him like really lock down, as far as locking down could be for Zion when he's guarding Anthony Edwards at least. And he hasn't showed the upside that we predicted out of college as a defensive player, but after that, in this post-game interview, he talked about, if you want to win basketball games as the best player, you have to defend. And that's like the mindset that I really look forward to for them next season or whatever. So I have no complaints about Z. The one thing that did come up when I was looking at the list is the Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard is one of those players that we can all objectively agree, one of the greatest peaks in modern basketball. You think about what he was able to do in that playoff run with the Toronto Raptors, even a little bit before that. Carson, you have him ranked 16 above Devin Booker, Halliburton, Damian Lillard, and Jaren Jackson Jr., the following 4. Yep. And as good of a player as he is, I also struggle with putting him that high. And I think a lot of that has to do with him not having the same possession-by-possession defensive upside as his previous years. And maybe it's unfair to compare him to pre-injury him. But, like, I think about nowadays, he's definitely more of a stationary defender. Like, in their game a couple nights ago, he was guarding Max Strus for the entirety of the fourth quarter instead of guarding Donovan Mitchell and so-and-so. But then he did switch on to Donovan and caused a turnover. So, like, I know that there's still a ceiling there. Maybe the ceiling is just lower than what it had been 4 to 5 years ago.
Kawhi is a tough one. He's a really tough one. I do think that I'm doing a little bit of projecting to the form I think he'll get back to if he can stay healthy, which, like, with him is always the biggest question, obviously. I agree he is not the same elite impact defensive player that he was a few years ago. I still think he's a plus there. He still just takes the ball from people sometimes and, like, does his signature Kawhi stuff, but just like a solid plus defensively, not an elite guy. And offensively, he hasn't been the most efficient this year. He's not getting the line at the same rate. He's not getting to the rim at the same rate. I think he's lost a little something in terms of his first step and his quickness. But this dude is just like one of the most relentlessly effective assassin scorers when it comes to a playoff environment when he's healthy that I've ever seen. He just has traits that scale so well. Like, if you have elite strength in the playoffs, nobody can move you off your spots. You're going to get where you want on the floor. Kawhi has that. He's an excellent ball handler. He always plays at his own pace, and he's one of the greatest mid-range shooters ever. So just like all of those traits, when his jumper is falling at an elite rate, which it normally should for Kawhi, I still think he's such a great scorer and he is a plus defender that this is the range that I'm comfortable with him in. Like last year, I thought he was still playing like a top 8 guy when he was healthy. And I think he's taken a step back from that, but we've started to see these last handful of games, like especially the last 4 games, he's giving you like an efficient, very efficient 28, 7, and 4. That's a Kawhi who I don't think you're going to see every night in the same way, but I'm closer to that than the Kawhi who was struggling a bit more earlier in the year just because I think his jumper was kind of off and he wasn't really in rhythm yet.
Logan, where'd you have him?
I don't have him. I don't have him on my list.
Okay.
I just, it's weird, man, right? Because you have to figure out where to draw that line in the sand, and Embiid, I think it's even more fair to draw that line in the sand. I will spoil it. I omitted him from my list. I don't know if Carson's going to have him on there. I doubt it. But, I mean, with the Sixers and him considering medical retirement potentially, it's just like, I don't know, man. How many times can I see Kawhi Leonard lull people into, oh, shit, he might be here for the playoffs? It's like, I don't know. Normally when people show you who they are, I'm going to believe them, and I just don't think that Kawhi's ever going to. I'll put it this way.
But when he gets there, he gives you an efficient.
If I had to put a line on Kawhi Leonard's games played for this year's playoffs, I'd set it at 3.5, and I would probably take the under. That's why I wouldn't put him on my list. It's just like, I know what Kawhi still is when he's there. Like Carson said, last year we did our top 10 player rankings, and I think he was in our top 10 for both of them. You know, you can go on NBA.com and you can sort through all of the different scoring efficiency play types. Yep. Kawhi was like an 85th to 90th percentile scorer in every category. Like, he's one of the best players ever, and it's just such a shame. I said it on last show, like, if we could pull together, like, some knees and, like, surgically just give them to Kawhi, I'd be for it. I don't need them. I don't, I like
How
playing
are your
ball,
knees, Kenny? Because my knees are bad. My knees might be as bad as Kawhi's. I'm not giving him mine.
My knees are great. My shoulders are awful, man.
All right, we'll just create some sort of cyborg. Give him your knees. Is there anything else that really stood out, Kenny? Anything that really surprised you? Like, I feel like some people might have thought we were too low on Cade. I had him at 27. What do you think about that?
I think he's played a lot higher than that this season, but I can see like the skepticism in it as a ball handler that has a high turnover rate, and but I just give him so much credit for the turnaround that happened in Detroit. And obviously, it's not just him; it's some of the other exterior players, new coaching, new everything, basically. But I had him. If I had to rank him, I would definitely put him higher than that. Yep. But I do believe that some of that is like, if you think about the players that are notoriously on these lists, you just reference postseason for Kawhi Leonard. And I think that's maybe a thing for Cade Cunningham. How does he play once we finally get to a 7-game series? And I would be a guy that would bet money that he'd end up higher on your list next year versus this year.
Yeah, I think he's a guy who's just trending up. And I love Cade. I was a big defender of his last year when people were trying to say, oh, Cade is the problem in Detroit. I'm like, he's playing with the worst spacing we've seen in a long time in this league. Like, that team was an abomination. But I think you mentioned it with the high turnovers, the low scoring efficiency. Like, there are just dudes who create more elite efficiency offense, in my opinion, because they have like those A-plus traits. If it's a Darius Garland's insane pull-up shooting and floater, or if it's an elite rim finishing guard. Like, Cade's finishing does still concern me. Yeah. He's only 57% in the restricted area. That's a really low number. So he's grown. I love how he uses his strength. I love his shot making. It's just not coming the easiest to him. And then there are guys who are better away from the ball, which I do think is valuable when you think about succeeding in multiple situations. So that's why I landed where I did on Cade.
I think that he's going to learn a lot in this postseason. Because I would just assume he goes into a 7-game series, and right now it's projected to be it keeps flipping. But let's say they end up at 6 and they go against the New York Knicks. I trust Tom Thibodeau to have some type of plan where they be just completely blitzing him to get the ball out of his hands to have someone else make a play for them, and he's going to have to figure out what exactly do I do in that situation. But as I continue to look at him as a player, I've seen nothing but trends upward and upward and upward. I remember last year he ended up taking let me see if I can find these numbers. He was in the 94th percentile when it comes to how many of his attempts were long twos. He's cut that in half this year. So he's becoming a more effective guy with picking his spots, I guess I would say. And as long as he can get that finishing up, like you mentioned, I feel like that's how he raises his ceiling to the whole next level. Because like 56% is definitely crazy for a big-ass guard like him.
It is. Garland shoots better on floaters, literally, than Cade does in the restricted area, which is just crazy.
It's pretty bad.
I will say, too, the one thing that I'm really encouraged about Cade long-term, though, is I do think he's going to scale well alongside another ball handler. I think that that's an area where Cade can grow into. Like, right now, we haven't seen it a lot, and I don't know if that guy's going to be Jaden Ivey, but some of the stuff you see Cade do in transition, like the other night, well, I got to give props to Asar, too. Asar Thompson had this nasty, like, no-look pass to Cade in transition. Like, Cade does a lot. Like, you know, we look at him, and he's this big primary ball handler, but I also think he does a lot of complementary and connecting things that could make him, in the long term, scale well alongside other ball handlers or other stars where I think he can fit, you know, defensively, rebounding, like in transition. I think that there's a little bit more to tap into if you can get a guy alongside Cade that can take a little bit of that on-ball responsibility now. But I agree with you, Kenny. I think next year, I think he's going to keep going, and I think this is a guy that's inevitably going to be top 20 and creeping in that top 10 range.
Yeah, I mean, I think that if you're not going to be, let's say, a C- off-ball player, you have to be an A+ on-ball player, right? And, you know, it's not many of those in the NBA. Luka Doncic is probably the best example of that, and he's trying to figure out exactly how I play when I don't have the ball on his new-look team. And I think one of the more unfortunate things is Bron's injury, because now it's back to just being Luka spamming, you know, stuff over and over. And Cade Cunningham is not an A+ on-ball player. Yeah, I don't know if he'll ever get. I mean, we're talking A++. So I doubt he'll ever get there. So he does have to figure out, how do I become a better off-ball player? And I think part of him not being able to develop that so far is, like you mentioned, Logan, they really haven't had someone that you trust to take the ball out of his hands. Jaden Ivey did a pretty decent job of that first half of the season before he went down with his injury. But the alternative before that was Killian fucking Hayes. And I like Killian Hayes. Like, I like Killian Hayes, but
you might be the only one.
I might be the only one. I think it's something about the Brooklyn Nets jersey, man. People look good in that jersey. So it's
he's a good-looking guy. I mean, like, I thought Killian Hayes was going to be solid.
Well, he's still butter smooth. What's frustrating about Killian is he'll break off the nastiest dribble combo all the time, and then he'll airball a midi.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough if you can't make a shot. I do want to talk about what's the biggest story in basketball right now, because March Madness is going on. And obviously we're all NBA guys here, so we'll take an NBA angle on it, because the biggest story within the biggest story is Cooper Flagg, who is emerging as one of the most hyped up prospects in recent memory. Kenny, I want to start with you on this. How many players in the NBA would you value as an asset over the rights to take Cooper Flagg? Like, if you just were given the opportunity to build a team, how many guys do you want over Cooper Flagg?
So I do want to say this to your audience. I'm not a huge college basketball guy. I think I watched more college basketball this year than the previous 27 years of my life combined. So I was locked in a little bit more. But as far as Cooper Flagg start to finish full games, I watched 2 this year. Their blowout game against the Illinois Fighting Illini, which was the biggest loss in Illinois history, and then the first UNC game. So I have those 2 frame of reference. And, of course, every single video that you see people put together is the ones that you trust. And it's not many. It's not many. I think that from what I've seen so far, him as a defender is just one of those things that I love me some defense. I mean, I'm a guy that has gone to war on my pod for Rudy Gobert's drop coverage and his protection of the rim. And I have not found that player outside of like Kawhi Leonard from the wing position in a very long time. And I'm not saying that he's Kawhi Leonard defensively, because again, Kawhi Leonard was basically like a 1-on-1 in his prime.
Yeah.
But I think that what I've seen from Cooper Flagg, I'm convinced that regardless on whether the shooting that he's done over the last couple months is real, or regardless of what type of talent he ends up being in the NBA, the defense in itself is enough for me to say, damn it, it's not many people that I value more than having the first overall pick this year. What is the actual number? I don't really know. But like if we look at your previous list, it's definitely some people on his list, and I'm like, I would rather have the first overall pick than to have this guy on my team right now.
Yeah.
I agree. I do have some names if y'all want to run through it.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
So I'm going to take Jokic, and I do think there's a balance to be struck here between the old and the young guys. Yeah. So
that's why I would say view it from the perspective of building a team.
Exactly. Yeah. So I would take Giannis still right now with what he brings you. I would take SGA. I would take Luka. I would take Tatum. I would take Ant. I would take Wemby.
Yep.
I think I would still take Zion. And that one's tough just because of availability.
Nah, I can't get there.
He's in shape, man. I want to buy in, dude. I want to buy in.
You were just telling us about Kawhi and how you can't ever buy into that.
But Zion's young. Kawhi's like this, man. Kawhi's not getting better.
I'm sorry, man. I cannot value Zion as an asset over Cooper Flagg.
Yeah.
Those are major red flags.
He's a part of the last two. The other locks that I have are Mobley, Chet. I think Amen Thompson is a lock for me over Cooper right now.
Whoa. This is what I'm saying. I've been the biggest Amen dude, and then Logan comes in. He takes it a step further.
You're right. You're right. Amen's nice. And then, so the two dudes that, those are locks for me. The two dudes that I'm on the fence about, I think I would take Cade. That one's really close. And I think I would take Zion. But those are the, Amen, Cade, and Zion are the ones that I was really, really debating on. But, I mean, a rock-solid defensive prospect. I think you're getting a guy that – my comp for Flagg was always Tatum, and it wasn't necessarily, offensively solely. It was just more in the sense of how many different ways Tatum impacts the game, right? He's a great rebounder. He's a great defender. He can be a good playmaker. He can – in nights when he's really on, he's an elite scorer and shooter of the basketball. And, I obviously think offensively is going to determine what his ceiling is, but like you said, Kenny, I think he is so advanced defensively right now that I'll take it. Even if he's a connective wing at his best, where he's an all-star connective wing and not maybe necessarily a superstar, I still think that's a really valuable asset. But I do think he's going to get there. I think he'll be a top 10 player in the league one day. I'm that high on him. But so you guys aren't taking Zion. You guys aren't with me.
I don't think so. And again, I think all three of us are big Zion
guys. I got it.
Yeah. The injuries are the thing that really puts – I mean, if we were talking – if Zion was playing at this level right now, but he didn't have 4 years of basically missing at least half the season, we would have that conversation. But based on the track record, I can't get there.
I agree. And
also, the Pelicans
might
end up having both either way. So
true. Very true. They might not have to choose.
Yeah.
So I – have a similar predicament with Chet, who obviously is not nearly Zion level of injury concerns, but there is a level of injury concern there. I'm a huge Chet guy. I think he's going to be maybe a top 5 player, definitely a top 10 player in this league. Just such a unicorn talent as a two-way guy, dominant defensive player, and then so many things that I love offensively as a shooter, improving as a driver, good passer, really high scoring ceiling there. But I do have some concerns, obviously missing his full rookie year, what would have been his rookie year, and then with the pelvic injury this year, just with his build, I can't ignore that. I think you're underselling Flagg, Logan. I love Amen. I've made that very clear on this podcast. Cooper Flagg is in a different tier.
I mean, I think Amen's
talent to me.
I think Amen might be the greatest athlete I've ever watched, next to LeBron.
He's up there. Flagg is damn near a generational prospect, though, man. We are talking about a guy who I struggle to even come up with comparisons for because he's such a unique talent. But offensively, This is a guy who is an extremely good decision maker out of pick and roll, who is very effective as a driver and a finisher, who gets to the line at an elite rate, who in isolation has shown a level of difficult shot making that I think is a level up from what he had in high school. His overall shooting, you mentioned Kenny, has been impressive, like more impressive than I thought it was in high school. And so he has a really valuable off-ball skill set offensively too with that shooting. And then he's an elite cutter. He's such a smart off-ball player. He's got such great feel. Like, he's going to give you Grant Hill sort of offensive production. Like, this is where I feel like I almost have to come up with multiple comps for him at once, where you're talking about a guy who can be that point forward for you, who can be a high-level playmaker, who can be a high-level scorer, maybe not an insane one. And it's not a one-to-one comp. Like, I think Grant Hill would be a little bit quicker in terms of his first step. I think that Flagg is definitely a better shooter, significantly, than Grant Hill was coming into the league, and then he developed that later on in his career. And I think that Flagg is a better off-ball player too. And then defensively, you're talking about like an AK-47. You're talking about a guy who is not just a really high-level perimeter defender, but one of the best rim-protecting wings we've seen in a long time. I think that Flagg is a monster interior defender and a really good rebounder. So it's just like a guy who's going to fill up the stat sheet on both sides of the ball night after night. He's going to do so efficiently. He's going to do it on ball, off ball, on the perimeter defensively, on the interior defensively. Just makes any situation better, complements any type of player. And like, I don't think he'll necessarily be the number one scorer on a title team, although I think he could. I do expect him to give you north of 20 points per game. But if you are giving me that, and then you're also giving me elite value in all these different ways, like, that's the dream. Basically, for me, that's such a winning basketball player. I'm very confident he'll be a top 10 guy, which like is kind of crazy to say about a prospect, but some dudes are just that great as prospects. So my list would be even shorter than yours, Logan. I'm definitely taking him over Amen. I'm taking him over Cade. Chet, I think they are equal as prospects. I was super high on Chet. I thought he was the best guy in that class. And I think Flagg is just as good as a prospect, and he just turned 18, and I don't have any injury concerns, so I might take him.
Yeah, I think I would still keep Chet over Flagg as an asset personally. And everything you said, I agree with. Like, from the people that I trust that do the college basketball thing, AK-47 defensively is a comp that I've heard a few different times, and it makes sense when you watch him play. And we talk about a guy that just turned 18. Like, he's going to be the youngest, one of the youngest at least in the entire class. And by all accounts, he has the drive and the competitiveness to never really get complacent. I guess I think I do struggle with, based on the amount of tape that I've watched, again, which is just basically 2 real full games, figuring out if he'll ever be able to be like the go-to offensive guy on a championship team. But if that is the question we're having for a prospect, and this prospect is damn near perfect, right? Yeah. Could he be number one on the championship team? There's only a few guys in the world that can do that. We know what he'll be able to do defensively as a in space, as a help defender, and as a rim protector, as a wing. So I love him so much as a prospect, and that's why I get increasingly more pissed when the Bulls win a basketball game.
I think specifically, Carson, what you were talking about too is the biggest selling point for me on Cooper is that malleability no matter what situation he goes to. Say hypothetically, which I think I'm rooting for this. I know a lot of basketball fans would be mad. I kind of want him to go to San Antonio because I think immediately with Fox Wemby and having him as like the third guy, that could be a immediate juggernaut in the Western Conference. Like, I mean, they fill out that bench real quick in one offseason and boom, the Spurs are there. But it really is that if he goes to a winning situation right now, say the 76ers hit the lottery, right, and they get the number 1 pick, and he had to go win games immediately. Well, I don't like that for Cooper because I don't really think the future's that bright in Philly, but he can contribute to a winning team immediately. Or if he went to a situation like Brooklyn where they are one of the only teams in the league without a real star, he could be the guy that makes you go and watch Brooklyn Nets games, and you could watch him grow as he builds out his offensive game. I also like, I agree with everything you guys have mentioned too. I also like his footwork when he gets the ball on offense too. Like, he's
got a bag.
He's got a bag, but it like out of triple threat too, the way he sets guys up, like there's some guys that just start like dribbling without a plan and they just kind of see what happens. Like, everything with Cooper feels so deliberate and thought out and methodical and cerebral. And that's one of my favorite aspects of him. We were talking about this the other day, and I don't know if he's a top 5 prospect since 2000, but he's one of the prospects that I'm most confident in being a great NBA player. Like, I felt that way about Wemby, and like Wemby's a one of one. I think he's the greatest prospect ever. But like, I get that kind of confidence that when Cooper's going to be here, that he's going to be a stud from day one.
Yeah.
And what year did you mention? From which year?
2000.
Like since 2000, it is
okay.
So
tough.
you have LeBron,
AD.
obviously. You
LeBron,
have
AD,
Wemby.
Wemby.
AD's got to be in that top 5. You have, honestly, both Odin and KD in 2007. Just purely as prospects, strong cases to be on this list. Ben Simmons was really highly regarded as a prospect.
yeah.
I probably
I
have
think
Flagg over him.
Our friend Z was highly regarded in the same type of thing. I mean,
100%.
I was watching college basketball for Zion exclusively, and I was not, alone in that. So I think, Z was in that conversation as well. Yeah.
Yeah. He's very much in the conversation, Flagg. Like, whether he's exactly the 4th or the 5th or the 6th best prospect since 2000, like, he's an upper echelon number 1 pick. He's a strong number 1 pick. And personally, in the time that I've really been evaluating prospects, which is basically the 2020s, like, I think Wemby is obviously number 1. Then for me personally, in my evaluations, I would have Flagg and Chet right there, basically tied for my number 2 spot, and then I would have Mobley as the next guy. Winners, man. I mean, if you can impact the game in a bunch of different ways, I'm going to want you no matter what on my team. And like you're talking about the conversations we're already having about him, Kenny, can he be the number 1 on a title team? Like, I feel confident, and maybe this is crazy to say about a prospect, but he's that good and his skill set is that translatable that even if he's not the number 1 scorer, like, he could be the best guy on a title team if you put him in the right situation. Like, kind of think about the run that Tatum had last year. And to be fair, that's on a super talented team. But Tatum was off as a scorer. He was off as a pull-up shooter. He was still the best player on a title team because of his defensive versatility, because of his playmaking impact, his rebounding. Like, that's what I think you get from Flagg when he's off as a scorer. And I do think he's going to be really, really good there as well. When it comes to college basketball in March Mania, one thing is for sure. Nothing's for sure. Upsets, buzzer beaters, Cinderella's advancing, top seeds going home early. It's all going to happen. Bet the unexpected, every upset, every day with DraftKings Sportsbook.
With live betting, exclusive content, promos, and parlays, DraftKings is the ultimate college basketball destination for March. Ready to make your first bet? Check out the matchups and pick a team to win. It's that simple. And if it's your first time, here's something special just for you. New DraftKings customers bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly.
Bet the unexpected with DraftKings Sportsbook. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code NERDS. That's code NERDS for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. But the fact that we're into March Madness now tells you that the NBA playoffs are near. And Kenny, one thing I love about your content and you as a basketball media personality is that you're an optimist about the league. You're a positive guy, and your whole brand is enjoy basketball. And I think that we have just had to fight this hellish battle this year of this wave of people being so negative about the NBA and at certain points just flat out lying about stuff with the NBA. But I want to tap into a little bit of that enthusiasm. Which team are you just most excited to watch in the playoffs?
Maybe the cop-out answer, it's the OKC Thunder for me.
Yeah.
And I think it's not more about the Thunder themselves, but it's about what the opposing team does to the Thunder. Because this may sound crazy because we're talking about an 82-game season. I feel like there's only a few times that I've watched the Thunder where the opposing team really made them think about what they were going to do. That's credited to them being hella prepared, and that's credit to them just being ultra talented as a 15-man unit. But the playoffs are always just different, right? Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and like there's one specific potential matchup that I want to see, and that's Thunder versus Clippers. Not because it's going to be that electric, but I just think about who the Clippers are as a defensive unit and who they have in Tyronn Lue and who they have in Van Gundy on that bench. And I'm just waiting to see what type of pressure or schemes that they have for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and how him, as maybe the league MVP, adapts to those things. And if he gets that matchup and they advance, then I feel as comfortable as ever in them, because I think that's one of the few teams in ball that will basically make the Thunder really think on every single possession. So I'm excited for that because, again, there are a lot of skeptics about the Thunder. I believe that they're a championship caliber team, but from the people in the league that I've talked to, players and people outside of players, they're like, the Thunder, of course, we respect them, but we don't fear them as if they were a team about to win 65 games.
Yeah.
That's crazy
wild to me.
It's crazy to me just because of the havoc that they wreak on a nightly basis with their defense.
It's just because they're young, man.
Yeah.
I'll go a step even further. Without saying who it was, I was talking to a player, this was maybe 3 weeks ago, and his prediction was that the Thunder is going to lose in the second round. And I asked him, like, who do you expect it to be? Like, obviously, because the standings all over. He said it doesn't matter.
Anybody.
I'm like, it doesn't matter?
It
doesn't
wild,
matter. That's
man.
crazy.
They're going to prove a lot of people wrong.
There's definitely some things that they need to prove this year, I think, in a big way. I think one is the 2s and 3s. I have full confidence in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander coming in and being the best player in any single playoff series. He's just that damn good, and I think that if you're skeptical of SGA, you just haven't been paying enough attention this year. I think it's the two guys next to SGA that have the most to prove, and that's Chet and that's J-Dub. J-Dub was really, really underwhelming, and Carson's been a huge J-Dub guy for a very long time, and I've gotten there with him, but he needs to prove it. The Mavericks series was really disappointing last season, and specifically how J-Dub plays, because we talk about this all the time, the fact that he's so reliant on the mid-range jumpers and stuff, and like, he gives you a high baseline of other stuff that he does, right? Supplemental playmaking for SGA, elite defense on the other end, but can he bring you that reliable scoring when you need it? Because other guys are going to have to pull their weight, right? That's what was Oklahoma City's biggest pitfall in that Dallas series, was they kept sending 2 to SGA every time, and nobody around him could hit a shot. That's the other thing. So that's why I'm really excited to see Oklahoma City. One, just because it's rare that you have this team that is this young, that is this good and ready to take that leap. It's honestly reminiscent of the Thunder team with Russ and KD and that young group taking that leap. I think Chet needs to prove himself. I think J-Dub needs to prove himself. And I think the aggregate scoring around SGA and shooting need to prove themselves. But everything else, like SGA, defense, I don't have questions about that with Oklahoma City. To me, it's everything else.
Yeah. I'm excited to see them tested, and I'm also excited to see them provide answers to those tests, because I do think a lot of the concerns with OKC, and Logan, that's not to say I don't share the same concerns that you just mentioned.
Just about youth?
No. I think the concerns that you mentioned are the right ones, but I think they often get overstated. Like, I think sometimes people think, okay, force everybody other than SGA to beat you, just like we've seen teams fully trapping him the second that he crosses half court. Thunder have actually been really efficient offensively in those spots. I think personally that it is the right strategy to mix in zones against them and force SGA to beat you as a decision maker and force the shooters around him to beat you. But OKC's actually been a bit more efficient against zone than man this year. Like, people talk about, oh, their offense breaks down in stretches. Well, they're a top 5 clutch offense. They're an elite half-court offense. So, like, they're just really amazing, and SGA is having one of the greatest seasons ever, and somehow so much of the discourse about him is just, like, overwhelmingly negative and totally disingenuous, and, like, we talk about this guy like he's a free throw merchant, which is just so absurd because his free throw rate is in no way an outlier. This guy averages by far the most drives per game in basketball, and I think a lot of what it is with OKC, Logan, speaking to the youth, is a lot of people's default position is, you can't do it until I see you do it.
Exactly.
And people come on strong with that. You can't win a title with Jokic as your center. He's a defensive liability. Okay, well, he's the greatest offensive player we've ever seen. The Celtics can't do it. They shoot too many threes. Okay, they're one of the most talented teams we've ever seen. Like, SGA is one of those guys who's just going to break through, and he's going to do it. And people try to lump him in even with, like, Harden and Embiid and say, oh, well, if you're that reliant on your whistle, you regress in the playoffs. First of all, SGA doesn't get to the line at a comparable rate to either of those guys who are taking 12, 13 free throws a game. And the difference I've always hammered home, he is way better as a shot maker. If you look at Harden and you look at Embiid in the playoffs, what happened? Well, Harden's step back 3, Harden's pull up 3 often left him a bit. Fatigue with the legs and the usage wasn't the same in the playoffs. Embiid's jumper consistently failed him. So those guys are hovering around like 49-50% effective field goal percentage in the playoffs. They just weren't that good at putting the ball into the basket efficiently. Shai's one of the greatest shot makers ever. He's one of the most efficient shot makers. He gets where he wants on the floor, if that's all the way downhill or if that's to the mid-range where he's a top 2 shooter in basketball from the mid-range. It's just him and KD in that tier. So, like, I'm just excited for him to prove that he is a guy who scales very well to the playoffs. And I'm a huge Chet guy. I do want to see him be better offensively. I want to see Jada be better offensively than last year. And I think one of the things that people just continue to maybe overlook with OKC is that this is a historic defense that I think is going to translate very, very well to the playoffs. And if you have a historic team defense and a historic offensive player, you got a good chance to win the title.
Recipe.
It's a hell of a recipe. So they'd be at the top of my list too.
I'm one of those people that have been really preaching getting rid of the mindset of they haven't done it yet. Like, I think that's been one of the biggest detriments to the way we look at sports in general, right? They're always, every single team, it feels like, before they get their first one, there's major conversations about it. Charles Barkley on TV, before the Warriors hit their first one, a jump shooting team can never win a championship. Yep. And there we go. They win it, and not just win one, but win multiple. And you mentioned the Boston Celtics shooting and so on and so forth. So I look at them, and I look at the Cleveland Cavaliers as like these two are the most dominant regular season teams we have. And yes, they haven't done it just yet. Both were second-round exits last year. But that shouldn't matter. Like, you can still look at things like last year in the playoffs. I was really underwhelmed with J-Dub, specifically in the half court in the postseason. I keep that in the back of my mind, but I'm not using that as a way to say they can't do it this year, because as we see, J-Dub is a more well-rounded offensive player this year in comparison to his last. So just keeping an open mind, I feel like, goes a very long way when it comes to like talking or debating sports. But I have no question at all about Shea. Like, I feel like the whole foul baiting whistle conversation is just like Twitter fodder. People get bored and they just do this, and one person has an opinion, and someone who doesn't watch OKC on a nightly basis sees that opinion, is like, that must be it because he shot 12 free throws. And I love that you brought up the drives per game, because the numbers make sense. It's like, you will see an out of context, like, we can't deny that Shea occasionally definitely does get the hook and hammer thing that, you know, Harden used to do, but that's not an indication of the way he draws his fouls. The man gets to the basket at will. And I think that is something that translates well, whether or not he gets a better whistle or worse whistle in the postseason, because he is a guy that's going to get the shot that he wants. It's just a matter of will he make it, and he's fucking efficient as ever. So he makes it. He just makes it.
He shot 55% from the mid-range against Dallas last year. So you got this defense that is loading up the paint like crazy, that is helping off of non-shooters, roaming off of them, that's switching everything. Chet can't punish mismatches. And, like, nobody else is giving him help. He's not getting some crazy whistle. He's just making tough shots over and over and over again, because for him, they're just not that tough. And if you can dominate the intermediate area in the playoffs, nobody can take that away. So I couldn't agree more. I mean, I've gone into like his foul rate on drives. It's not top 8 in basketball. There are guards like Austin Reeves, Cam Thomas above him, who are not as high-level downhill threats, obviously. They're super crafty, and they're actual foul baiters, and like SGA just has somehow become the face of this thing that he's not the face of.
I also just don't get why he gets the blame. Well, final thing on SGA, I think we said this on a couple shows back, but the reason that he gets all these fouls is because nobody can guard the guy.
Can't stay in front of him.
Obviously, he's going to get fouled, right? Like, that's what you do when you can't guard somebody. 2, I think foul baiting isn't a problem. I think it's a problem with certain players, but the reason I think it's a problem is just because of the referees and how they ref the games. It's like, if we want to point the finger at somebody, point it at the refs. Like, tell them to stop giving these guys calls when they are deliberately jumping into guys when they're taking jump shots. Like, to me, that's the big difference. Like, don't hate the player, hate the game, man. I don't get that. I don't get why he gets the brunt of it. It's just like, it's the new kid. Have you guys seen the revisionist history with like Harden and people like romanticizing his foul baiting and stuff like this too? It's just nonsensical to me, man.
That was on another level. Harden peak foul baiting was on another level. I mean, he and Embiid are the GOATs of it, man. They are the GOATs. I will say one other team that I'm really, really excited to see in the playoffs is the Warriors.
That's who I had written down. And I am praying to the basketball gods that Steph is okay, man.
Yes, I know. Yes. I think he will be. I think he will be by the playoffs at least. But I'm so excited. I mean, the Jimmy fit has just been such a home run. And when they're doing their thing, it's just such a beautiful motion offense. The ball movement is so great. Jimmy has fit like a glove. I mean, he has been perfect in his willingness to do all the little winning things on both sides of the ball, but especially offensively. I'm really excited to see what level does he get to as a scorer? How aggressive is he as a scorer? Because he has been crazy selfless so far as a Warrior. Like, and this is actually where I think Logan and I ended up a little bit further apart on Jimmy in our player rankings. We both love so much of what he does. Logan's a massive Jimmy
Jimmy's
guy.
my guy. Jimmy's always been my guy, though.
Yeah, like one of your favorite players ever, right? And I think you're a little bit more confident in how much he can turn back the clock as like a volume scorer than I also am. And I'm interested to see that.
I think he enhances just guys too. Like Steph, I looked 100%. At the numbers from Steph pre-Jimmy to post-Jimmy. 5 points per game more with Jimmy than without, and 7% more efficient by true shooting. Insane. The Warriors were 25 and 27 without Jimmy. That's a 48% win percentage. They're 16-2 with Jimmy. That's nearly 90%. Like, I think it was the best trade that they could have made at the deadline. I'm so excited. Just that I always use this as a reference point because we always talk about title windows. It's not big, but there's a little gap. There's a little gap for the Warriors where the window was shut before then. There's a little breeze. There's a draft coming through for the Warriors right now.
Yeah, I'm high on Jimmy Butler. Always have been. After seeing him basically grow up here in Chicago and everything, I was really skeptical of the trade when it originally happened. Not that it, based on what they gave up, and like I think talent for talent obviously is an upgrade. But I was thinking about the window, right? Does Jimmy Butler really open that window again? And I think we can really have the conversation, and you could argue with me that the window is back open. Like you mentioned, it might just be a breeze, but the window is open compared to earlier in the season where it was like there's a 0% chance, and I think that's pretty impressive. There are certain things that still concern me a little bit with them. I think everybody's going to look at the lack of size, and they're playing like the rookie Quinn Post, who's been pretty damn good given his draft slot. But I think about, they're doing a pretty good job preventing people in the Jimmy Butler era from getting to the basket. But when they're there, they're scoring. Like Draymond Green has always been heralded as like, he runs that small ball five, and his rim finishing, the opposing team's rim finishing when Draymond Green is there, it's on the same level as Rudy Gobert. And now it's not that. It's like 10% higher than what it was in his peak. And it scares me just a little bit as they could potentially go against some pretty dominant centers on this path to a championship. But that's kind of it. Like all of the role players right now are having their moments, right? Brandon Podziemski went from a guy that was untouchable in the Larry Marketing trade and the face of hatred for Warriors fans to being back like, oh, he's pretty good, huh? Moses Moody went from 10 minutes per game in some nights to playing a full 30 and diving on the floor for loose balls and hitting 42% from three. The most unsustainable thing is Gary Payton II is hitting 45% of his threes since Jimmy Butler has come to the team. So like everything is moving well. And, I was talking to my producer on my show trying to put a football analogy. I'm definitely not a football guy. But, like, if Draymond is the middle linebacker, then, like, Jimmy Butler is, like, a really good safety, strong or free. I have no idea which does what. But, like, defensively, they have really been able to coexist, and I think they have the lowest defensive rating as a duo since the All-Star break. Like, those are extreme things. Now, granted, they haven't played against some really tough top competition, like even their game against the Nuggets, which they lost, there was no Jokic and no Murray. They do have the really good win without Steph Curry against the Bucks a few nights ago, which I was impressed with. But I'm still waiting for them to give me 3 games against pretty good playoff teams for me to get a real gauge.
Yeah, that's fair. And I do think it's good that you brought up the size because, like, if they see the Nuggets, I think they're cooked. I actually think that that's, like, kind of the worst matchup for them, even though I think as teams, like, they're on pretty similar footing right now. Like, the Warriors are playing really good basketball. The Nuggets are flawed, but I would confidently pick Denver in that series. But there are matchups where their speed, the small ball stuff, they just have so much collective IQ on the floor, and that's what I love. I mean, they still have a top 5 defender on the planet in Draymond, the smartest defender on the planet still. They have a top 5 offensive player in Steph, and then Jimmy is so connective and such a plus on both sides, and he just makes everybody better with everything that he does. So my take on the trade at the time was that it was a win. Now it's been more of a win than I expected, but as a Warriors fan, which I am, and I've actually gone to a fair number of Warriors games this year, like, to me, people being super fixated on, okay, what does this do for, like, your title window? Like, is this a real needle mover? Like, that was always misplaced energy because Steph Curry is 36 years old. He's the greatest player in your franchise history, and the basketball product they were putting around him for the first half of this year was a disgrace. It was unfair to him. So I felt like they owed it to him to do whatever they could to upgrade that talent. Jimmy was that, And then it turns out that he's made even more of a difference than I anticipated. And like all the role players look better now. Their responsibilities are scaled down. It's just been phenomenal. But I was just happy they did something because it was too many off seasons of, we really like our 2 timelines. And it's like, okay, why isn't Kuminga progressing more than like, this is not something that you can actually do at the NBA. You have to commit to a timeline. You have to commit to your best player ever. And it's been awesome now that they've actually done that. So they are at the top of my list. Let's be real. 2025's been all about change. Whether it's work, personal stuff, or just the daily grind, it can be hard to keep up. But here's the deal. When things get hectic, we don't have to go through it alone. Embrace the power of nature and elevate your everyday with Via. Trusted by over 500,000 happy customers, Via is the Swiss Army knife of wellness, dedicated to harnessing the natural benefits of hemp to create high-quality wellness products. Whether you're looking to improve your sleep, focus, recovery, add a little pep to your step, or just get high, Via has something for you. With products ranging from 0 to 100 milligrams of THC, Via gives you the power to blaze your own trail.
Via is well renowned for their award-winning THC and THC-free gummies, THCA flower, soothing topicals, and calming drops, all crafted with the highest quality hemp sourced from trusted, independently owned American farms. And the best part, Via legally ships to nearly all states in the U.S. in discreet packaging directly to your door with a worry-free guarantee, no medical card required. So if you're 21 plus, check out our link to Via's website link in our description and use code NERDSESH for 15% off and free shipping on orders over $100. And if you're new to Via, get a free gift of your choice.
Via really is just the best, man. They've got whatever you need, whatever mood, whatever vibe you're feeling, they've got you covered. Personally, I'm a huge fan of Cloud9, but it's all good stuff. And by the way, the gummies are legitimately delicious. You're going to have to hold yourself back from taking too many just because you're going to want a little bit more of that sweet, sweet flavor. So we can't recommend it highly enough. Quality ingredients, affordable, accessible. Check out Via.
If you're 21 plus, check out the link to Via in our description and use code NERDSESH to receive 15% off, free shipping on orders over $100, and if you're new to Via, get a free gift of your choice. After your purchase, they ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Enhance your everyday with Via.
Should we do some trivia, gentlemen? Should we get into it?
Let's
All
do
right.
it.
So Logan,
I will
I'm
say
handing
I'm
these over-
happy that we are on teams, by the way.
Yeah.
I've seen
We're
going to
be unstoppable, Kenny. This is 2017 KD and Steph right here. It's unfair for the league. We were already running it solo. But so Logan, you have the questions for us. I'm going to sit back in my trivia position now, very nonchalant, very calm. Go ahead. I mean,
we're going to start with a bit of a behemoth. I was originally going to ask this question post merger. The list was way too long though, so I need you guys to name me every pair of number 1 picks to play together since 2000.
Okay.
This is fun. So what do we want to do here,
2000.
Kenny? Do you want to rotate guesses or do you want to just fire when we have them?
Wait, so they had to be drafted before two?
So-
Wait, I'm sorry.
That's the
Restate the question.
So it is a good question. Any duo with a guy that's included post 2000. So if we were starting with 2000, if Kenyon Martin played with a guy that was pre-2000, it still would count.
Got you.
Kenny Martin did play with a guy who was pre-2000. Can I get K. Martin, Allen Iverson?
That is correct.
Kind of a weird place to start. I say we just let him rip when we got him, Kenny. I'm just thinking back through. We've got
Joe
Wiggins
Smith
and
KG.
Cat.
Oh.
Yeah. That's correct, too.
Or did they
Joe
play
Smith
each
and LeBron also.
That's correct.
there you go. Yeah.
Why don't we just go through the LeBron duos, actually? Because we've got LeBron and AD, LeBron and Kyrie. We've got LeBron and Joe Smith, we already mentioned. We've got LeBron and Bogut played 1 minute together. Bogut's knee exploded. So technically that's Kyrie as well. We've got LeBron and Dwight. And then we've also got AD and Dwight. They all played together on the Lakers.
See, this is why I'm happy we're on teams.
We've got LeBron and Greg Oden with Miami.
Miami, yeah. Sheesh, dude. Slow down. Wait, how many are there total?
30.
30.
I couldn't
See,
believe
this is why I'm
it.
saying we got to go.
I couldn't believe it.
All right. Hold on.
Are there any more LeBron ones, Logan?
You have one more, yes.
Who is the final LeBron teammate?
You said
won this?
Bogut, right?
Actually,
You
there's
said
two
Bogut.
more.
Said
Excuse
Bogut.
me. There's 2 more.
That's kind of unbelievable to me that there's 2 more LeBron still. Oh, Derrick Rose.
Correct.
Oh my goodness. Oh, I may have to leave, man. How did I forget about D Rose?
Kenny. You're just building a rhythm, bro. You're just building the rhythm. This is what I'm here for. I'm getting you into a flow here.
That's bad.
And we've got one
I do want to say
more.
every Rose spot post Chicago,
yeah.
you just kind of have to forget about in general. So it's like
There's a lot of weirdness going on there.
one more bronze spot. Okay, okay. Let me go backwards here.
The furthest name back on this list.
Further back than Joe Smith in 1995?
Yep.
Did LeBron?
Oh, you know it. This is a big time one.
Oh, Shaq, bro. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Come on, guys. Come
Cav
on,
Shaq.
guys.
Okay. Let's think. Who else are we gonna have here?
So LeBron's that's done.
I think you guys said this duo because you said another teammate of LeBron, so I think you already got all three of these.
Okay. So the way I would tackle it.
We've got Fultz and Simmons.
Correct.
I'm just thinking about number one picks to the same team. Oh, David Robinson and Tim Duncan. Duh. Or no, one of the
99.
players has to be drafted after 2000.
Correct.
Okay, got you. Yeah, Duncan's 97, but they played together until 03.
You guys
Damn.
got
I've got one. I've got a sick one with the Spurs. Glenn Robinson and Tim Duncan.
Bro, Duncan was 99.
No, he's 97. I keep on forgetting the criteria of the question. I just was thinking about number one
Keep
picks who
keep
played
firing.
together.
I mean, you're doing,
I guess
you're
I'll
doing
just keep
amazing
firing,
stuff,
bro.
man.
I'll just keep firing.
Okay.
You
All
guys
right,
have
I'm
gotten
gonna
most of the old, most of the ones you're looking for are more 2000s guys and 2010s.
Okay.
I don't know. I like to. I'm trying to think about it year by year, right? So we did Bron. So I mean, this is. It seemed like you're a more sporadic thinker, which I
think you've got a good approach though.
So if we go 04, that's Dwight Howard.
Dwight
Howard, we already
AD.
got played with Bron, got AD.
I think that's all the. You have one more Dwight pairing actually.
One more Dwight pairing.
Two more actually. My fault.
So
these are some of the toughest.
This
These are
is
two
so
of the tougher
stupid.
ones.
Is it Dude, I'm getting mixed up. He didn't play with John Wall, did he?
He did.
Okay.
Great
good
pull.
pull,
Okay.
Kenny. Good pull.
I think
There
they
we
played
go.
9 games together.
Oh, that's sick. That's twisted.
He played because he played in so many places.
And one
Sorry,
more.
I am being sporadic, but I just thought of another one. Anthony Bennett and Kyrie played together.
That's correct.
Oh
Yes.
yeah. Former first overall pick in Charlotte? No. Former first overall pick in Houston?
This was one of his least memorable stops.
Yeah.
Atlanta. Who's in Atlanta with him? At least that's what I think about. At least
There's a lot though.
Dwight.
Atlanta, Charlotte,
Yeah, I think
Washington. All of those are like.
I think he was rocking number 39 in this spot. If I'm
Ooh,
not
I think
mistaken.
that's Charlotte, isn't it? Or is that Washington? Where was he wearing 39?
He wore 39 with the Lakers, and then he wore 39 post. Who did he play with after the Lakers?
This was his last stop in 2021, or his second to last stop before he went back to the Lakers. He played 69 games.
Is this Simmons?
there. It's Ben Simmons.
Okay.
Kenny.
Nice.
All
Good,
right, yeah.
Kenny. Let's go.
I didn't remember him going to Philly though. Godly.
All right.
Okay.
You guys are
I mean,
making.
we've
you're
knocked
making
out more
good
than half the
progress.
list.
Yeah,
now,
yeah,
yeah.
we're doing-
You're
we're
Yeah,
making
we're
really
cooking.
good
We're cooking.
progress.
All right. I like your strategy just going through. So maybe we just keep going. Bogut plays with Kyrie and LeBron.
I cannot picture Bogut in more than 3 jerseys, man.
There's one more guy with Bogut.
One more guy with Bogut.
Bucks obviously, Warriors.
Mhm.
Anybody on the Warriors would have been a former first overall pick.
He was. Bogut was very young. This guy was very old,
All right. So we're looking at the Bucks.
and this guy played everywhere.
It's not Joe Smith again.
Is it
is
Joe
Joe
Smith?
Smith.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, he did play everywhere, man.
I
He
know. How
probably
many
is-
more times does Joe Smith show up on
He's
this
done.
list?
That's
Maybe
it.
so-
That's it
okay.
for
all
Joe
right, all right,
Smith.
all right. Bargnani. I don't think we have anybody off the top of my head, but clearly I'm wrong.
You have one Bargnani pairing.
Bargnani.
They were actually both washed at this point.
Oh my goodness.
We got a washed collab here. So maybe in New York?
It was either in New York or Brooklyn, I believe. Maybe both. It was in New York.
New York. Okay.
All right. We just got to be methodical here, Kenny. This is a behemoth that he's thrown at us, but we can make it through.
They're both washed. 2000.
This guy retired 2 years after they played together.
Dude, that's tough, man.
Okay.
I mean, you'd think of 2 other teams that he was much more prominent with. Good teams.
Have we mentioned his name already? At somewhere else?
He's had a pair.
Is it Kmart?
It's Kmart. You're cooking,
good
Kenny.
shit,
You're
Kenny.
cooking.
Good shit, Kenny. Okay.
So that's
So
in the
now-
That's 06, correct?
So now we're into Odin. That should just be LeBron,
Mhm.
right? Yep.
Yeah, I don't think anyone.
Now
else
we
is
got
there.
D Rose. D Rose has Braun.
He has Braun. He has.
You've got 3 more D Rose pairings, actually.
That's kind of crazy. He did not overlap with Kyrie because that was the 2018 season that D Rose went to the Cavs.
I'm kind of working backwards here. Ended
Okay.
end of his career is Memphis. I don't think there's anybody on that was number 1 overall pick. Then he was in New York, and then he had the Pistons.
You guys might have cried during this big moment when he was
Okay,
teammates
so that's the
with these
50
guys.
piece. That's the 50
Yes,
piece with the
yes.
Pistons. Or with the T-Wolves, I mean. Oh, Cat and
the
Wiggins.
Oh yeah,
There's one more
that's
with-
insane.
Yeah.
with a guy that hasn't been brought up yet at all.
Oh, that just excites me. So, fuck. Dude, I keep on thinking of dudes who played together after 2000 but were drafted before 2000. I just thought of Oluwakandy and Elton Brand, and I was like, what
That's
a pull.
diabolical. That's
Doesn't even count,
diabolical.
though. Doesn't even work.
Wait, who did they play for? Carson?
Clippers. They played together for the Clippers, such as Blake Griffin and,
There's a few you could go with.
I got nothing, man.
I mean, not John Wall. He went there after Blake was already gone.
Blake actually has 3 pairings on this list.
All right, let's just slow down and think for a second here. Blake in Boston, Blake in Detroit, Blake in Brooklyn with Kyrie.
Kyrie is correct.
Oh yeah. I feel like
Blake.
it's probably there again, right? Well, rookie Blake is playing. No.
So
He's
you've got
after Elton Brand. They don't overlap.
Yeah.
You've got one guy who's been mentioned that played 42 games with the Clippers with a very young Blake. And then, where did these 2 overlap?
42 games. Already mentioned him?
Let's think back through.
They played, I believe, 65 games together in one of Blake's later stops, where Blake was still good. These are 2 of the tougher ones on this
Okay.
list.
We got it. We got it.
I got nothing.
With Detroit, with D Rose. Did they overlap?
Correct.
Oh.
Yep.
You guys have
And-
made really good work of this list. I believe you only have four pairs left.
We got it. Okay, but who did Blake overlap with the Clippers?
This guy's already been mentioned for some random ones.
It's not Kmart.
It is Kmart,
It is?
actually.
Wow.
Yeah, dude.
I can't picture
Later
him in that
Kmart.
jersey at all.
So
Later
1,
Kmart.
2, 3, 4, 5. So I misspoke. 6 pairs left. You've got 2
Aw,
that are
bro.
actually have played together over the past 2 seasons.
Okay, those are the
Okay.
ones I can 100% get. Okay, over the last 2 seasons.
Simmons and Kyrie with the Nets.
That wasn't even one of the ones I was talking about, but that is correct. 2
Simmons
more recent.
and Blake with the Nets. Did they overlap? No.
Not Simmons and Blake.
I
That's
didn't
not a bad guess.
Realize Kyrie played with so many other first.
You actually
overall
got
Yeah,
one that's
true.
technically active.
technically active.
Technically active.
Technically, bro will not hang him up.
Not even like that. Both of these guys are unfortunately not healthy right now.
Oh, I see.
They played a whopping
Bro,
one-
Anthony Davis and Kyrie played one
That
game together.
That is correct.
Kyrie is on this list a lot.
I gotta bail out, man. How did I not think of Kyrie? And oh my god.
Kenny, I
left,
hadn't either. This is the
2
way
to-
it works, man. He threw 30 combos at us.
Are you taking any brain supplements? Like how we doing?
Oh, yes. I will not disclose what, but
Okay, all right.
numerous.
You guys have 2 that played together last season. They are no longer together, either duo, unfortunately.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Broke some hearts in the offseason, man.
Somebody left somebody else.
I'm just out. I'm out. Why am I thinking DeAndre Ayton right now? Why am I thinking about DeAndre Ayton? He's been on the Trailblazers for 2 years now.
Oh, Fulton Paolo. They played together.
Correct. And a more prominent duo that accomplished something pretty historic last season.
What?
I cannot. Man. I can't believe that this is one of the last duos that we're getting to.
All right. Let's think.
Need this one. I need this one, Carson.
Yeah, Kenny, I'll let you get it. I'll step off.
Lock in.
Oh, man. Wait, what? You said they did something historic last year?
I know who it is. Damn.
Oh, damn it.
But I want to let you get it, Kenny.
Pretty prominent for their franchise's history.
Yes.
Stop. The more hints, the worse it gets.
Okay.
The worse. Oh, my God. You might have to.
Big trade this offseason. Broke them up.
Oh, my goodness, guys. Anthony Edwards, Karl Anthony Towns.
Yep.
You guys have got 29 to 30. We are missing one. This is the funniest duo on this list, I swear.
All right. So
absolutely hilarious.
Who would make for a funny pairing?
I mean,
Anthony Bennett, Karl Anthony Towns.
Oh my God, there actually is another Anthony. I'm glad you said that, Kenny. We would have skipped over this one. There is one more pairing with him. Not Cat. You're
Wiggins?
close though. Wiggins.
Wow. Oh, I thought they were. Yeah. Okay.
Because Wiggins is 2014.
Yeah. So you guys are missing one more. Oh my God. There's no way. Did they play together on the... Wow. I think they played together on the Pistons, which is not where you would...
Okay.
Why you would not associate either of these guys with this team.
Okay, but we already established Blake D. Rose. Both had stints with the Pistons.
The 2009 Pistons is where these gentlemen overlap.
2009 Pistons.
Let's think about this.
Okay. A pretty hilarious pairing. One of them was way over the hill.
2009.
Oh, this is Chris
Allen
Webber
Iverson?
and somebody.
Oh.
Is it Chris? Is it? Oh, it's not C-Web?
It's not C-Web.
On the 2000. Oh,
C-Web wasn't.
2008
C-Web was a
Pistons.
teammate of one of these guys in this.
C-Web and Allen Iverson played together.
It's not AI.
Neither of them are post 2000.
Yeah, duh. I keep on forgetting about that part of the hint, or that part of the question.
But Allen Iverson is a part of this pair.
AI and Kwame? Is that
yes.
Wow.
Good pull, man.
Didn't think
That's
of Kwame
sick.
Brown. His name didn't mention. Didn't cross my mind at all, dude. So
That's a good
that was
question.
30.
That was
30.
30. You guys did actually really well for a question.
You knocked that
deep.
out, Kenny.
Sure,
And that was our warm-up.
man. Yes, you did.
It gets
No, we. Come on, bro. You're my goat.
I probably got like 5 in there.
it gets easier from here,
I had
guys.
it. I had it 15 and 15. I had a split.
Oh, okay.
All right.
It'll look good in the edit, I promise.
So March Madness is finally upon us, so I do have a few college basketball questions for you guys. Can you guys name the top 10 NBA scorers who were college national champions?
That's fun.
Michael Jordan.
Correct. MJ is number 2.
Kareem will be number 1. Let's think about other absolute monsters. Ewing won at Georgetown.
All right, I either just missed Ewing or he's not here.
Ewing won at Georgetown, and I feel like he has to be here.
Total points, yeah.
This is by total points. Yeah, I just missed Ewing. That's on me.
That's all good. That happens to the best of us. Okay, well, you mentioned MJ, Kenny. I don't know how far down this list goes, but does James Worthy get on here? From the same
Worthy
UNC
does
team?
not. That's a really good guess, though.
Okay.
Anthony Davis, does he get on here?
AD does. He is number 8.
Okay. I thought about him, but I didn't think he would make the list. All right.
I had to go deep into the scores to.
I'm just gonna guess some iconic title runs. Does Larry Johnson or Glenn Rice get here? Do either of them have enough points?
Glenn Rice is the last guy on this list. That's a great poll.
Yeah, keep carrying me. College championships, I don't have anything.
Does Antoine Walker get here? Winning with Kentucky, he's probably too low.
Not Antoine.
Definitely here for shot attempts. Am I right? Hey yo.
No
Little
disrespect
Antoine
to
Walker.
Antoine. I love
for you in
Antoine Walker.
2025.
Yeah.
Really? You like watching shot chuckers?
He's from Chicago, so that's really just what
fair.
it's about. That's all.
That's fair. That's fair. Only reason.
I saw his house once. That was when I was like a little kid.
I mean, that's pretty cool. That's
at least my dad told me it was his house. It might not have been his house. I have no idea.
That'd be awesome if it wasn't. I'm gonna do that to my kids all the time. Yeah, Shaq lives here. Our next door neighbor? Oh yeah.
It's a summer home. Okay. College championships. All the college championships I know is like Sebastian Napier and
Unfortunately, I don't think he makes the list.
Peyton Siva.
Peyton Siva. That's a crazy
shout out, bro. That actually technically doesn't count because that championship was vacated because Rick Pitino was taking him to strip clubs and casinos. Okay, I do think we're going to have some throwbacks on this list just because that's the way that it works. The better players used to play more in college. But Elvin Hayes didn't get one. Oscar didn't get one. Jerry West didn't get one, even though they were all dominant college players.
I think you only have one more guy post-2000 on this list who won a college championship.
Melo.
It is
Hughes,
Melo.
baby. That's an iconic one.
Goodness.
One more guy.
No, I was about to guess Danny Manning. What the hell? I'm just thinking about great college players now.
One more guy in the 90s, one more guy in the 80s, and then the majority of the rest of this list is big-time throwbacks. But you only have a few names left.
One more dude in the 90s. It's not Grant Hill. He does not have enough points to be on this list.
Definitely, this guy was a really good basketball player for a long time, but this is definitely a longevity inclusion. This is not a,
longevity merchant.
Yeah. Did win an NBA championship too, though, man. Got to tip your cap.
Winners win, bro. It's that simple. I'm going back to the 80s.
That guy also won a college national championship and an NBA championship.
Winners win. It's that simple.
Actually, that applies to everybody remaining on this list. They won an NBA title and a college championship.
Are you serious?
Yes, everybody remaining.
All right, that's sick.
Yeah, I can tell you who won any championship that wasn't from 2013 on. So.
All right, don't worry, Kenny. I'll get us home. I'll take us home.
I could just name good basketball players and hope that they did
that.
You
could do that. All right, let's think about
Deion Waiters' approach.
Champions in the 70s. Yep, or
the
Antoine Walker approach, as I call it.
You can't lose confidence, man.
You never lose confidence.
Although I was playing pickup with a guy the other day, we had a massive lead, like 12-6, and then some dudes were shit-talking him off the court, and he took it upon himself to just play hero ball. And I think the last 5 possessions, he had 2 turnovers and 3 missed shots, and
it's not actually good
so
advice.
Mad at him.
It's not actually good advice to go 3 for 30 instead of 3 for 9. You should go 3 for 9.
Feel the game, man. We should
Stop
just pass.
shooting.
We should start passing the ball.
Stop shooting, Deion. All right, I'm thinking about throwbacks here. It sucks that Houston didn't win one.
2 honkies, Carson.
Just crackers. Okay, got it.
Honkies, yeah. But great NBA players and great college players, too. Very accomplished, both of these guys.
Hondo got one at Ohio State.
Hondo is correct, number 4.
Shout out.
Goodness.
And we got one more. Whitey.
One actually in the same city that he won a college national championship. He won an NBA title. How about that?
Oh, shit. You know how I was just thinking? Bill Russell won with San Francisco, but he doesn't have enough points.
He does not.
Who else won in the same city?
I'm thinking face when I just.
I'll put some bands on his head like.
No.
I don't know.
One more time for me.
I'll put some bands on his head like.
No, not Jason Terry.
Jason Terry is on the list. He's number 7.
What?
He did. He won at Arizona.
That's the longevity guy.
Oh, shit.
Wow, that's insane.
So you guys are just missing 2 players. A bit of a dickhead at number 9. Nobody likes him. And number 6.
Nobody likes him.
Yeah.
Certainly not Christian Laettner. He did not get enough NBA points.
I'll just never remember how disrespectful he was to Candace Parker. That's going to stick with me forever.
Zeke?
It's Zeke. He's number 9.
Wow.
Candace, you were like Anthony Davis if you were better at everything.
Oh, yeah, that was a crazy thing
She was
to say.
so disrespectful.
Yeah, of course. Bobby Knight, Indiana. Shout out.
So, last one won a championship where he played in college and where he played in the pros. Legendary teams, both of them.
And how far of a throwback are we talking about here, Logan? Like what decade?
60s, 70s.
60s, 70s. All right.
Legendary player, though. They had his jersey in NBA Street Volume 2. That's how I learned about this guy.
That's awesome. I wish I knew who that was, but that's not going to do it for me.
That established a lot of my foundation of
All right.
basketball.
I mean, let's think.
Celtics guy, huh?
Mm-mm. Who's the other one, though?
The Knicks. I mean, they win in 70, 73. Bucks win 71. Lakers win 72. Celtics win 74, 76. Looks like I said it based on that face. Gail Goodrich?
It's Gail Goodrich.
Oh, damn. Yeah.
That's the list.
UCLA, man, they just couldn't stop winning rings back in the day.
We're going to work our way back to some college trivia, but I do have some Bulls trivia to get you in your bag.
All right, okay. This is redemption. Hopefully, holy shit. That would be like famous last words.
You guys are going to have to get deep in the bag for this one, I think.
Oh, come on.
Got you.
Can you guys name every Bull who was a part of a three-peat?
Okay, so
Yeah.
yes. so we can start it off with MJ, Pip,
Yep.
Horace, Tony, Dennis.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember if Stacey King was there for 3 or 2.
Yep.
But I'll say Stacey.
That's correct.
Cook.
Ron.
Was Longley there for the full second three-peat?
He was.
Yes, he was.
Was Wennington there for the full second
That's
three-peat?
the next name.
He was.
Yeah, that's the
Okay.
next name.
Paxson, we got to get.
Mm-hmm.
Kerr, we got to get.
Was Scott Burrell there for 3, or was he just there for 1 or
Was
2?
Judd
I
Bush,
thought
was
you were
Judd
going to say
Bushler there?
Judd Bushler was there. I
Oh,
thought you were
Scott
gonna say
Williams.
Scott
It is
Williams.
Scott
There you go.
Williams.
Yeah.
There you go. Most generic.
Scott
name we can
Burrell
get.
just got bullied.
Gets-
MJ just verbally abused him.
Yeah. Okay.
Who else are we going to have here? That's pretty
How long is it? How long
legit
is the
roster
list?
consistency.
I think you guys have 6 names left.
Okay.
Ron Harper?
Ron Harper's correct.
Okay.
These ones, well, you have 2 more guys that.
You got the
I
white
don't-
guards already, right? We got the white point guards.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, we got the Whiteys. Was Craig Hodges there for the full first three-peat?
Not Craig Hodges. You got a pair of bigs that. are pretty
BJ Armstrong was not there. Was he? He was there for the full?
prominent.
Yeah.
BJ is on the list.
Yeah, shout out.
Shout out to one-time NBA All-Star BJ Armstrong.
For real. MJ stepped out. BJ stepped up. Go.
He said a pair of some big men here.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Bill Cartwright.
Bill Cartwright is
First
correct.
three-peat.
Oh yeah, Dave Corzy.
I was thinking
Oh,
Dave Corzy,
not
but he's too
Corzy.
early.
That's
But
a
I
good
love
guess.
that. I love that.
This guy I kind of think of with Luke Longley. When I think of Luke Longley, I kind of think of this dude.
And it's not Wennington.
It's not Wennington.
Who else is on a similar vibe?
All of
Gangly
them.
white fella.
They all were just the same archetype.
Yeah.
Just the same guys.
If you were just big in the 90s, you'd get on
Yeah.
the floor.
Ended up getting a title with the 99 Spurs, too.
Oh, fucking Will Purdue, bro?
Ah,
believe
shout out
that's
to
what
Will
did it.
Purdue.
He was there for the full three-peat?
Yes.
What a winner, bro. Will
you
Purdue.
just see Will Purdue around the city nowadays. He's just
Really?
He's just chilling. Yeah.
Have you ever said hi to him?
No, I wouldn't dare.
Yeah, true.
So you guys have 2
That's one of
names
those
left.
guys, he's just untouchable. You know? You see Will Purdue, you can't even muster the words. You're just in awe.
2 more guys, you say?
Two left.
One of the funniest names ever. My dad used to. This is such a deep cut for me. My dad used to walk around the house and just name drop this guy to me because it's such a funny name. He'd be like, "Yo, that dude was balling like this
Fat
guy."
balls.
It's. I think it might be the funniest basketball name ever, man.
Really?
Funnier than Chubby Cox?
All right, I don't know. Chubby Cox is pretty good.
There's some great ones, bro.
You
First
guys
or-
have seen Austin Powers, yeah?
Yeah. Shagadelic, baby.
Minx.
Oh, behave.
First or second three-peat?
Second, both of these guys.
Mm.
Didn't play.
Yeah.
Did not play.
Oh, shit.
One
This
of these
isn't
guys,
Randy.
Not Randy Brown.
Randy Brown.
Randy
Brown.
It's
Brown.
Randy Brown. That's a
also
crazy
see-
pull.
You see Randy Brown around Chicago all the time, too. He loves a Portillo's hot dog.
Oh.
I've heard good things
Good
about
to know.
Portillo's.
I like a man who likes to get glicked up. Okay, and we got one more.
All-time basketball name. All-time name.
Oh, I thought Randy Brown was that, and I was like, that's not that great. It's a pretty regular ass name.
I had never heard of Randy Brown before that, so shout out to him.
We got one more.
I think this guy
He's
went
big on the Chicago AAU circuit. He's everywhere. Like seriously.
That's cool. Those guys stick around.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I'd probably suck every last drop of clout out of the three-peat that I could. Was the guy on the first three-peat or the second three-peat, Logan?
second three-peat. This guy went to Providence, was the Bulls' first overall selection in 1994.
Oh, that narrows it down for sure.
I was a big fan of the Friars back in '93, so I remember that team.
Apparently, this is a nickname for him. His real name is Lou Barra.
Lubara.
Yeah.
Can I phone a friend?
Oh, damn. I was about to say Bison Dele for a second. His real name's Brian Williams, R.I.P. He was there, but he was not there for the full three-peat, I guess. I don't know. I keep thinking about Corey Blunt, who got there in like 94, 95. I have no idea why I'm thinking about
My
Corey
homeboy
Blunt.
went to Providence, so I wonder if he would just know this based off being an alumni.
Could be. What position was this guy?
He's a big, he's 6'9", power forward / center, 250 pounds.
Oh, big unit.
Yeah.
Went with a great name.
Hilarious name, dude. I just cannot believe you would call
Black
your-
guy, white guy?
Nah, black dude. I think he's light skinned.
I don't see color, so that doesn't help me at all. Fuck.
Such a dude. I'm telling you, my dad would drop this guy's name all the time. It's so funny.
I got some Bulls books from the 90s.
Let's use them. Let's use the PEDs. That's pretty cool.
You guys remember the Ball brothers? You know, there's LaMelo, there's
Lonzo,
there's LiAngelo. Who was the fourth Ball brother?
Lil Dicky?
Little Dicky.
Dicky Simpkins!
Simpkins. There.
Dicky Simpkins is the final
yeah.
guy on the list.
Of course.
I got to see a picture of Dicky Simpkins. I can't picture his face, but I know the
Good-looking
name.
guy.
I
Could have
see,
modeled
yeah.
if he didn't play in the league.
Yeah.
That's what
He's
I've
doing
always
good
said
things,
about
huh?
old Dicky.
Well done, gentlemen. We got two more. I got another Bulls question. I think you guys are going to absolutely crush this one.
Hell yeah.
Can you name every Bulls player to average 15 points per game in a single season since 2000?
Holy shit. Since 2000. Okay.
Go,
do
Kenny.
you want to
Start
work
cooking.
forward or backward?
Oh, let's work backwards. I mean, let's get the gimmies like Vooch and Levine and DeRozan, Kobe White.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, damn, I said that, and then I just thought of the sickest pull at the front end. Let me get Ron Mercer, Logan. Let me get Kentucky legend
Ron
Ron
Mercer,
Mercer.
man.
Dude.
Rattle some off, Kenny. This is your team. I'm going to let you
Yeah,
cook for a second.
I'm working on it.
All right.
Does it include this year?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so you would think that I would just have an answer based on that question.
I think it's still just Kobe and Vooch,
I'm
no?
overthinking
I don't think
it.
Giddy's
I don't
over
think
15.
Giddy's there yet.
Yeah, I don't
Not
think
yet.
Giddey
If he
is
keeps
either.
playing like this, he'll get there. Okay,
Yeah.
1 second. Let me recalibrate things because I'm trying to go in that order so we try not to forget somebody on a specific team. But fuck that. Let's go Carlos Boozer. Let's go Derrick
Yeah.
Rose, Luau Dangerous. We're gonna go. You said Ron Mercer. Does Jalen Rose end up averaging
Great
15?
pull.
I
Yeah, he
love
does.
that. Can we get Ben Gordon, similar era?
Ben Gordon for
Can
sure.
we get Eddie
John
Curry, Jamal
Salmon?
Crawford?
That's so diabolical. Those are so diabolical.
I think Kenny just cooked. Did you hear John Salmons? I think that's right.
Dude,
Does he miss
John
the
Salmons would be here. I put a 41 games minimum. He did it
okay.
in a
That's
season
fine.
where he was
That's such a
traded
good pull, though.
mid-year.
That's fine.
That's such a great pull.
That would be correct.
I just want to make
does
sure.
Brad Miller average 15 for the Bulls?
Brad Miller did not.
Okay.
Did Kirk Heinrich get there?
Yes,
He better
Bird
have,
did it
yeah.
3 times.
Yeah, he better have.
I don't think
Okay.
Joakim Noah did, though, did he?
Mm-mm.
Fourth in MVP, couldn't average 15. That's so
I
amazing.
know. Such a.
You guys are just
Stud,
missing 4 guys who did it multiple times, 1 dude who did it once.
We're filleting this one.
Wait, that's how short the list is?
Yeah.
In my
Yeah, I'm
mind,
sorry,
it's
man.
we're talking 60 guys, but damn it, we've been really bad, huh, for 20 years. Okay. You said
Oh,
Jamal Crawford.
Kukoc still would have done it in like 2000, right? No?
Didn't meet the minimum games requirement.
damn.
That
Okay.
would have been correct.
Got Bulls, got Johnson.
I'm sure Andres
15,
Nocioni did this. In his
Larry Markkinen.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
I always forget about the current players.
You guys
good pull.
you've
I've
got some
totally
basketball
spaced on that
legends
era.
here.
Elton Brand.
Crazy place to go after that, but yeah,
He's a basketball legend, bro.
be fair.
When Scotty came back, did he average 15?
Scotty is not here.
Yeah. He was
Basketball
old.
legends.
I think, I think
hits always throw me
two Hall of Famers and then a guy that is still active, but I would consider him to be a basketball legend.
off. 2 Hall of Famers.
My guy.
Oh, Jimmy, bro. We haven't said Jimmy.
Jimmy is correct.
That's brain fog and mental fatigue there, buddy.
Oh, D Wade is going to be another one of the legends.
Yes. Last guy, briefly a Bull, but a good Bull. Underrated, I think.
I don't know if
Briefly
that's
a Bull, but a
possible.
good
Basketball legend bona fide.
An underrated
is this-
player overall or underrated Bull?
Underrated Bull. Like, he was
Okay.
older when he got there, but I still think he was a productive player with the Bulls. And he might be underrated historically, too.
Oh,
I don't
Powell.
know It is Powell.
Yeah. Oh, we totally spaced over that.
Yeah.
Hang on.
Second team All NBA with the Bulls, Pau Gasol.
I cannot believe you
2015.
guys. I cannot believe you started with Eddie Curry and Ron Mercer, bro. That's
We didn't
so
start there. I did
disgusting.
kind of rip Ron Mercer kind of early. I got excited when I thought of him.
I actually didn't know Ron Mercer averaged that much. He's just a mental
kind of-
block in our mind as Bulls fans.
He's weird, bro. Kind of put up some weirdly big numbers in the very early 2000s.
You guys have crushed all these. I've got one more college-based question.
Okay.
Can you name every NBA coach that has coached in a college national title game post-merger?
Patino?
That's correct.
Yeah. Calipari.
And there are some
With
disasters
the
here.
Kentucky, slick Italians vibe. Well, can I shout out the only dude to win a title at both levels, Larry Brown?
Correct. And this list is not that long.
Please
Bulls.
take the question one more time.
Yeah, every NBA head coach that also coached in a college national title game.
Billy Donovan. Yes,
Yeah, I was about to
Bang
say.
on.
Yeah.
Brad Stevens with
Yes.
Butler.
Yes. Yeah. I
guys are
forget Butler
crushing
made
this.
it that far. Just one shot, man.
Holy
One shot.
shit. Fucking Beeline is going to be here, dude.
Bro,
Yes,
I thought I
he
was going to have to
did.
give you guys
For
some
the
hints.
Worst
For
50
the
game
Cavs,
stint.
yeah.
That was a nasty
Me and the guys
era.
were just talking about that like a week or so ago. Like, just forget that it happened.
That was surreal, bro. That was surreal.
Yeah.
And that was like, yeah. I was about to bring up a Bulls head coach who feels similar in my mind. Shout out Jim Boylan. You probably never forgotten that.
Yeah.
the
I
Jim
wish I
Boylan
would see
era.
him around Chicago. I would have some words for him.
Okay, who else are we going to have here?
Two more big throwbacks, and then a guy who is technically on here because he was an interim head coach last season.
But he was the head coach of the college team.
He was also a longtime NBA point guard. So I think this guy's bald.
Bald.
Interim coach? Interim coach recently.
And then
Interim coach.
two of the bigger throwbacks on this list.
Oh, yeah, I forgot the criteria is just coach in the NBA. You don't have to really do anything as that head coach. Okay. Let's think about coaches who got fired last year.
Yeah, that's where I'm trying to get to right now.
One of these guys, most notably a coach in the 90s for two Western Conference teams.
Before Jordy Fernandez gets to Brooklyn, is it Jacques Vaughn?
You're cooking. You're cooking, Kenny. You are exactly right. That is the team.
Okay.
Who replaced Jacques Vaughn and was the interim coach? Wasn't very long. This guy coached a whopping 28 games last season.
My goodness.
Longtime NBA point guard.
And he was a great college coach somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if that's the angle to take.
He coached in the 2014 national title game for a legendary program.
2014 title game.
Kenny was talking about one of these guys earlier that was on
Yeah.
that team.
Shabazz. So who'd they
Played
beat?
from 97 to 2010.
Wait.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wait. Okay.
A good career.
Kenny, he was actually a Bull from 01 to 02.
Well, that's brief.
There's been a lot of not so great stuff happening for me in this episode. This is probably number one to me.
I
This
don't
is
know,
ha-
man.
we're talking-
I'm
This is a
struggling
tough,
right
this
there
is
with
a
you.
really this is a really tough question. I also
I-
don't mean to mislead you guys. He's not bald like me. He has a wonderful head of hair. Great hairline.
Oh, dude, because I was only going through my bald catalog. So
Mhm.
he's
Same,
fucking
Yeah,
bro.
you gotta
What-
expand
yeah,
it.
you threw us
gotta
off,
expand
man.
it.
yeah, bro. You got to understand. this thing works like a computer, okay? I'm narrowing data sets, and you misled
Actually
me.
got some crazy waves, man. I'm kind of jealous. I'm just jealous of anybody who has hair. The college program, great in men's and women's basketball where he coached.
No way. It's not Kevin Ollie, bro.
Yes,
What?
it is.
Oh,
I don't even remember him being the Nets interim head coach at all.
I don't remember
Who
him
was
being on the
watching
Bulls.
Nets games?
Well, he was in a lot of different spots. He played for like 10 teams.
Okay, you guys are just missing 2 coaches. One guy, Carson, who was a coach for your Warriors briefly.
Okay. I was just thinking about college basketball coaching legend Mike Montgomery, who
And
was
then
a
the
coach
other
for the
guy-
Warriors, Stanford and Cal coach. Shout
The
out.
reason this is a tough one, he coached.
Ooh. PJ Carlissimo.
That's
with Seton
exactly
Hall.
correct.
A right hand to God. I was thinking about him, but I didn't want to say his name wrong.
Well,
I
we
didn't.
got it. Let's go though. That's a good pull. I feel like.
Last one.
Okay.
20 games coached as an NBA head coach. He is much more of a college basketball legend. 20 games for the Spurs in 1993.
Oh, bro, this is Tarkanian. Jared
Exactly
Tarkanian
right.
literally
Oh,
had
of
like one of
course.
the
Yeah,
shortest head coaching stints ever.
I can't believe we forgot about Tarkanian.
Yeah,
I can't believe we forgot
Tarkanian.
about him. Yeah.
UNLV, running Rebels, baby.
Oh yeah.
Let's freaking go. I think we cooked, Kenny. You're being hard
guys
on
did.
yourself,
You guys
man. Those
did.
were hard questions.
They were.
Nah, I knew that. I mean, every time I do a trivia or something, I give you guys a shout out because you guys are killing it.
I've
when it
seen
comes to
that,
the
dude.
trivia stuff, so.
People send it to me every time, and that's
Yeah.
where the dream came to mind. Where I was like, "Could we get Kenny on? Do we have that kind of motion?" And
yeah.
no, we don't. But you just are kind enough to come on and give us an hour and a half of your time, man. So
Motion is not real, man. We're all in the same community. We all want to eat in this world,
True.
so it's
Very
good.
true. Very true. I texted my brother something today. I was talking about getting free popcorn at the movie that I went to last night, which actually ended up being a curse because then I yacked later because I had way too much popcorn. And my brother said, I was like jokingly flexing on him. He said my motion detector is not going off. I said, fuck, bro. he got me. Kenny, thank you so much, man. I mean, this really is like a dream. This is something that we've been wanting to do forever. You are certainly our most requested guest, and we're just super appreciative that you came on and talked ball with us and played trivia. Like we were saying before the pod, man, we've had some cool guests on. We've had our big boss man, Colin Coward, on the show, and shout out to you, big boss man. You're the best. But truly, I think that this is probably like the most surreal just because of how long we've both been fans of yours and because, like, to me, man, you like created this niche of NBA trivia.
Yeah, bro.
Like, to me, I can't remember who it specifically was. For some reason, I feel like it was Bailey Howell, but there was somebody you pulled on some Sporkle quiz like 10 years ago, and I was like, that's my fucking guy right there.
Yeah.
And I want to find a way to do something like this where people are just like, how do you know that?
No,
And
like on some real shit, Kenny. Like I feel like you made it cool to, like I could drop some knowledge on people, and I didn't feel like a fucking dork. Where I was like,
well, you are a dork, but
I am a dork, but no, you've curated a lot of basketball fandom and a long time fan, man. No Sporkle quizzes, grind them, bro.
Goated,
It's an
man.
honor to
Thank you,
have
man.
you on, bro.
I appreciate the good words, man. That was back in the day where I didn't have anything to do but browse Basketball Reference. That's what I was doing in school. Like I would sit in class and not be paying attention to the professor, and I would just be there. And then, yeah, it benefited me long term. Now I don't get in the lab as much as I used to, for sure, as you can tell. But I do really appreciate it, man, because like I said, one of the things that's really important to me as I continue to do things in the sports world is to kind of showcase that there's different paths in order to build an audience in sports and to hit the upper goal. I don't have a college education, man, and I just, at one point it was like a prerequisite to even get in the door. And I don't think that has to be the case anymore. It's like, are you passionate about what you're talking about? Are you knowledgeable about what you're talking about? Are you charismatic? If you have those three things, you have a chance. And you guys are a good example of those three things as well. So, I'm happy we were able to finally make it happen because we've been kind of DMing for a few months now trying to make it happen, and here we are.
Yeah. Well, we really appreciate it, man. And I'm going to try to chill with the glazing. But I really do think you're an excellent example for a lot of people in this space. And I know that your generosity with your time means a ton to us. I look around at some of the people we collaborate, we're friends with. You going on like Project 94 with Jokic, Joestar, and Isaac. You going on Pick a Side, like doing stuff with those guys. Like, I think I speak for all of us when I say it means a lot, and we really appreciate you and the example that you set and the time you give to everybody. And also, you're just a ball knower. You're the GOAT of NBA trivia to me, and it was awesome to have you on and get to play some trivia. So I don't think I need to plug your stuff. I think everybody who watches us already watches Kenny, but, you know, numbers on the board. As I mentioned, check out Enjoy Basketball. Check out all of Kenny's channels, and obviously go support the GOAT. If you want more of our stuff, follow us on YouTube. We do all of our full shows here, NBA, especially right now, but we do NFL content as well. Gearing up for the playoffs, which is going to be a ton of fun, but we got some trivia stuff on here, and we got some film breakdown stuff, some of our more in-depth video essays. And then, of course, on social, we've got all of our trivia content there, Nerd Sesh on TikTok and Instagram, and Twitter at nerd_sesh. You can see all the fun little videos we do there, the grids, and you'll see all the trivia that we just did with Kenny too. If you don't want to watch the full thing here, but please just watch them both. Pump the algorithm. So, anything else you want to say, Kenny, before we let you go?
Next time I come on the show, I'll be closer to Anthony Davis to your LeBron, as opposed to today I was like Quinn Cook to your Bron.
No.
So
no chance.
Next time will be better. You just inspired me to get back into the lab.
You got to at least give yourself
That's
a
awesome.
Chris Bosh, Kenny.
I'll take a Chris Bosh. Big rebound from Chris Bosh, so we'll take that.
Massive, bro. If I'm Bron, I didn't hit the final shot in 2013. I needed Ray Allen. Logan, I guess you're Ray Allen. Come up with the great questions. All right, on that note, one last shout out to Kenny. Really, really awesome having you on. I've been Carson Brabber.
I've been Logan Camden.
And I'm Kenny. Hey.
Yeah, you are. And this was Nerd Sesh.